77 resolved within the month. 4 were unresolved. 2 were software vendors, and 2 are related to an open complaint from previous month, just new information. 33 calls were received while sitting at the desk. 33 were resolved. 33 calls were placed out also. 31 were resolved within the month, and 2 are unresolved, also related to the same complaint. I'm still tracking 3 active violations that are currently in progress. 21 complaints are still under investigation, building a case toward violation. 20 of those are continuing. 1 is new this month, and there was 1 very minor complaint that was open and closed the same month. I put a whopping 10.6 miles on the Explorer this 3,000 miles.
A little bit.
Your job is a lot. You gotta go a lot different. All right. So that's the summary. Do you have any questions? The details are in the report, but if you want to talk about any of those, feel free. Go ahead.
How much you wore out the seat? Different desk.
This month, yeah. Yeah, it's been blue. It's been kind of a little bit bluey. It's been cold. Yeah.
We need to trade vehicles is what we need to do.
No problem with that. All right, so we'll move on to old business. It looks a lot worse. There's a lot of stuff that we had left over from the February 11th meeting down the road there. But I am still discussing with Cloud Permit and evaluating some other platforms as well. The emails that you had forwarded to me, Mr. Wilson, about the GoGov, there was some confusion about the demo scheduling, and I wound up, I guess, clicked on the wrong thing and wound up doing a demo from MyGov instead, which is a different product altogether. So the GoGov demo is scheduled for the 19th. They have rather different product offerings. The GoGov is interesting because it has this community engagement tools, things that you were talking about, the CRM. Yeah. And they also do permitting and, the full platform as well, whereas the Cloud Permit is very limited to permitting and code enforcement. MyGov solutions were very much on par, they have GIS components where people can look at interactive mapping, see where their property is, see what their zoning is, do a lot of self-service. But ultimately, the GoGov is kind of unique in that community engagement platform, which I'm very interested to see how that's working in detail.
That would be more my concern there. It's I'd say be more transparent. Postings and stuff.
Right, yeah, and it would be, that's really kind of outside the zoning realm, but I'm looking at it because there's alignment there, because it's an integrated ecosystem. It all exists in the same world. So, citizen complaints, we could funnel, citizen information going out as well as citizen information coming in. It's like a tailor-built social media platform around the government functionality, as opposed to trying to twist Facebook to meet the job. This is modeled around the most likely use cases.
Is that specific to zoning issues, or is that just like a potentially broader tool for the township?
As I can see, the 311 CRM is just citizen engagement with the township government. It's
Okay,
not
so
focused
outside
purely.
Okay.
So
Could be on anything.
Correct. We can, they have a smartphone app that you can, get. As far as I can see I haven't seen the actual demo yet, so right now we're just looking at the sales flyer. But it's, like where they can get notifications. They can sign up for text alerts, they can get notifications, blast messages that can go out, like road closure warnings, other things like that. We could use it to communicate with subscribers that way. And by subscribers, it's just that people that sign up and get the It's
And
like
that's
the,
MyGov or GoGov?
that's GoGov.
GoGov.
They have that product. I'm very, Dawn had forwarded those, Mr. Wilson had forwarded those emails to me. I'm very curious about that, as well. They have zoning and code enforcement modules that exist in that same realm. So I look at it as say, you maybe solve more than one problem with the same tool. So we're gonna get that demo on the 19th, and I'll give you some more feedback after that. And if anybody, if you're interested to see it yourself, it's the 19th at 2 o'clock. So it's a Zoom meeting, so I can get you the meeting invite if you want to sit in on the demo.
2 o'clock.
Yeah.
Can you send that to me, please?
Sure. And follow up on that on the code enforcement and the permitting software platforms we're looking at. I'm still waiting on info about the new grant that was created as part of the House Bill 315. We've got more information about it. There's a particular piece of it that was blocked off for zoning process improvements. So I'm looking at how, as soon as that grant application opens up, I'm going to apply with the intention of using that to cover the startup costs and however much we can of getting a platform involved. Just a lot easier visibility for me, like keeping track of, especially complaints, keeping track of all. If I'm getting multiple calls on the same issue, doing it in Excel is not ideal, but it's a little better than just doing it, with pen and paper, like search. So that's where it's at with the cloud permit, where in sort of zoning software. Any more questions on that? I attended the APA Planning and Zoning Workshop on the 28th in Anderson Township. It was very, very informative. I was surprised where I was that there was a lot more rural focus on the sessions, especially even in the sessions. Talking about zoning challenges in the modern age, things to think about, not necessarily constructing your zoning regulations about an absolute concept of family, having it be more based around dwellings and inhabitants, instead of predetermining what a family unit is and how many people that represents, because in modern times we have a lot more dynamics involved in makeup of a family than what a lot of the concepts are based on. So that was one of the key takeaways from that as we're moving through our zoning and planning update about modernization. And then there were a lot of very interesting talking points around conservation. Conservation easements is something we might want to look into, for retaining certain areas within the township, or protecting parts of the township from development in certain ways. And then another thing about lot sizes, that was a big topic. The example they had was the community that refused to raise their minimum lot size, but they were so concerned that people would split up parcels and overdevelop. But they weren't necessarily correlating the idea of creating an area where there was a 5-acre minimum to protect against the thing that they were most concerned about. So, it's about evaluating the planning and the zoning situations holistically, as opposed to getting really siloed out about a particular use, thinking about the broader perspective of the entire living document. So it was very interesting and productive workshop. Ready to move on? The public's input survey is out. I was just informed by one resident there's maybe some timeout issues, so I'm going to discuss that with the consultant, so we can figure out maybe what's happening with that. But the survey was published out available on the website, the township website on the March 4th. Fire department shared it on their Facebook page. I asked them to do that on the 6th, and they did that. Thank you very much. Noticed a definite uptick in responses after it got to social media. Paper surveys, I had noted here in my report that they were still to be placed. I did get some of those in the library and here at the fire department today. And then flyers are out that Save a Lot, and street department. Had took one down to the street department. I'm open to any more suggestions about other good places. I've pronounced if people want to take some of the flyers, post them in places, talk to churches, maybe they can put one there. Why don't we just get as much feedback as we can? As of this morning, 11:30, we had 66 responses on the survey at this point, and 6 of those were from today. So maybe picking back up some. Like to get a lot more than that, but I mean it's a good start.
Did you say you have flyers in the shop?
Yes. Yeah, I have more flyers I can share with you if I want to take some of them.
Okay, yeah.
And again, let everybody know what that is. It's for our land use survey that we're putting out, land use for TATE Township. This is a survey that is out there, please get it prepared, so that way we're one of the locations that's posted, so that way we can get as many responses, because that's the whole purpose for the survey is to get a whole township response, what they're planning, what their outlook is.
And there's paper surveys for those that don't want to necessarily do the smartphone online thing. They're here at the fire department. They're also at the library, and I talked with the librarian, so when somebody completes one, they can hand it into the librarian, and I'll go down and pick them up every now and then. And anybody can call me if they want to get some going on. The next item, just looking for more feedback from anybody and everybody to update the list of kind of the working issues list for zoning things as it's coming up. I've given that to the zoning commission, looking for suggestions. I was here on the 18th when we had the joint meeting, and I expected that I might get more of a response than I did. So I'll just keep bringing it up. If anybody has any things, bring them to my attention so we can get them on the list.
And these would be things that should be considered or addressed in the
Yeah.
zoning code.
Yeah, well, I wanted to, maybe, everybody has ideas like, well, I wanted to do this one certain thing, but I found out I had a problem with doing that. Like, we have a residential zone and don't explicitly have any information about yes or no on whether they can have some chickens in their backyard. They're in a residential zone. They're not thinking agriculture. So, those kind of issues we need to be tracking on the list so that we're making sure that it's addressing what people need, not so limiting, but also still common property rights. Any ideas? Very well. The next one is that you have a detailed list of any other questions, issues that you see advised by it. If you have any particular questions. Next big item on old business is the proposed zoning fee amendments. 11. I fleshed this out as much as I could. There is a nice reading list on the last page. See it on the page. So I am recommending that we add a general statement on the fee list that all fees are calculated or rounded up to the nearest $25 unit. This is where we have improvement to square footage based rates. We talked about that, but the statement wasn't actually rounding up. So if we deal with the fee at 46.23, rounded up I just wanna put that statement on. I've had some people fill out an application, they have the information, calculate it, direct check. Do you wanna wait until the end, like, is that
I'll
stuff
go ahead
last
and do
one?
that right now when you got it.
Okay.
That way you're not missing. I like to recommend the fees are to be calculated, rounded up to the nearest $25 increments. Or fees.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Item second is a general statement noting that all ground mounted private solar energy systems require a site plan review due to the nature of the project. That would be an alternate.
I'd like to recommend that all ground mounted private solar energy systems require a site plan review.
Yes.
Yes.
Moving on, Board of Zoning Appeals application fees. Based on some conversation and feedback and digging a little bit further, we just got a little overzealous with that. Feel like it should be adjusted down. I recommend that we reduce the BZA appeal from 800 to 50. That's back to where the BZA were revised. Because what we did when we adjusted the fees in November, we put all BZA. Problem with this is an appeal, it's an administrative appeal, and that is an appeal of my decisions, like our project permit or basically any reason someone would need to. I just felt that it's disincentivizing someone engaging in the process. Where it's at is it covers costs of the hearing.
Is that the cost of the hearing, remember the 5 members plus the fiscal officer, that not come up to 315?
I don't remember that part.
How much is it? Plus 185, the cost of the hearing.
But this is the, that's not.
Well, those fees, those application fees cover hearing, and when you're looking at that, it's like at $800, it's like I don't want somebody to look at that and say, I really don't agree with what you did, but I can't afford to go in and ask somebody to So
I understand that, I mean, that's a big difference. We're kind of paying a cost.
This is the deal, right? This is.
But that would encompass like these people too. So I
Okay.
think, I think certainly, it's good to look at that. I think that is potentially disincentivizing folks, right? And I think your point, Rusty, if we go back to where we were, we were concerned that where we were wasn't the right number of hydrants. So does it make sense to go all the way back there? Because that's kind of the. And Shelby, what was sort of your thought process in taking us from the 800 back to its original?
that it covers the base costs. I mean, the
It does
situation-
cover the base cost. I think that's
that
what
was
Rusty's
my
trying to get at.
understanding. When you're facing that situation, it's really more than this is a residential. So I'm not saying to do this for industrial.
Sure.
And this is residential. It's homeowners, be a violation, it's some sort of problem. And they come in and say, I would like to appeal that decision. There's not a lot. I say there's not really a lot necessarily involved in that.
Okay. So we're talking about the commission or the board's fees, right?
Yeah.
Kathy, you mentioned that there's also advertising fees that right?
Currently that's one of the things we're gonna discuss, is currently we do by the BZA rules of procedure, but, with the changes to the notification requirements under the new, at very second, we're not gonna have to be doing, running this on the sun. So, that's gonna go off the wayside.
Are there any other fees that we incur in a BZA deal? Whether that's anything else?
The only case you run into is if they did a continuance and you have to take back every.
So that would be 2 days. What was the fee amount? 185? So if there were a continuance, then there would be a fee.
Well, but the thing is, the way we've done it in the past,
Mhm.
where it was a, kind of a ad hoc meeting on the end. One of the things I'm gonna discuss with them on the 18th is establishing their regular schedule. So if we have no cases or no reason, we would not meet on the third Tuesday. But if we do, then there could be 1, 2, 3 hearings on that night. That's gonna be our date that we set aside to meet, and I will schedule hearings for those days.
So we would save on any.
Correct. Yeah, there's a potential line where it's not just every hearing you have.
You guys okay with that? Rusty, are you okay with that?
I don't think it should be, it was. I was getting paid, and, if you know, the commission is getting paid. I don't want to just make any money, cover our expenses.
But I think, if we take it down to 250 and 350 respectively, I think what having shared, lead cost to get the board together with the time to cover those.
Yes, it's.
And a variance would include a hearing as well, right?
Yes, a variance is a hearing. There's a little bit more involved with the variance because there's a lot more site plan work
Okay.
that's necessary. I mean, I'll be expecting the applicant to be doing that, but I'm gonna do a lot of folks.
Which makes sense for it to be at a higher rate.
Ed deal with number one, but on the, I'd like to recommend that reducing the residential BZA appeals from $800 to $250.
Yes.
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 The next is the variance.
I'd like to recommend reducing the BZA variance from $800 to residential for $100.
Yes.
Yes.
While we're in BZA, I did want to discuss the BZA conditional use in residential situation. I'm not recommending that we make any change to that. That would be looking at $1,800. The conditional use cases in the residential district are hospitals, bigger projects. Those would be situations that need a conditional use permit hearing approval by the BZA. So when you look at those, there's going to be a lot of site work, there's going to be a lot of land review, things like that that build up toward making that case. There aren't very many conditional use cases. So in front of the list, hospitals, institutions, school, religious, charitable, church, etc. So those kind of cases are allowed uses currently in residential zones, but they're very heavy development based. So there's going to be a lot more comparing to this here. And in addition,
And it would be A, R1 and R2?
Not A, oh yeah, I'm sorry, yes, A zone as well. So the A zone would be covered under that agricultural residential, so yeah. So I mean, that's the situation there in the A zone. Private airport, a riding stable, things like that, where it's gonna be a little more involved in building up, preparing for that area. There's probably going to be.
How does that work though, just with your number 4 with your home occupation conditional use? You got that one at 350.
That was what we had said in November. There was no, we did that.
Right,
I believe it had $1.
right, but I'm saying under what you've got on number 3, if that's gonna stay the same at 800, wouldn't technically a home occupation be conditional use in a zone A? Is that
It's
number 10?
categorized in the zoning resolution as classified. It's a very special, when you're talking about home occupation, it is, very tailored toward someone having a home-based business operation.
But isn't it listed under B, isn't it number 10? Under zone A, page 13?
Yes, zone A.
So which fee applies, I guess, is my point. We're gonna keep it the same, we're gonna carve that out and have that be 350, but everything else is free.
That is what we have that's what we have already.
Okay.
That's what we did in November, but if we need to change it, I have no problem.
I'm not suggesting that at all, I just wanted to be clear so that we're
Yeah,
not
a
raising
zone
confusion,
A,
right?
a zone A home occupation is, it's a carve out, very, very specialized situation.
So up on number 3 there's this instance.
Well, there
Well,
are
there
other
are other-
conditional uses, so it's all conditional uses except a home occupation
And
use.
you wouldn't have to do anything, we already did those. So I think,
That was $800.
So I'm just bringing it forward for discussion there that, there's no change to unless the board feels it's necessary.
this time, unless something comes up, Shelby, you'll have to let us know if something
Right.
comes up.
Well, the only thing I feel like is, like I said, we've got these prices up where they're getting comfortable. I can see it's dropping down, but we're going right back to the camp. And the problem, how much time shelter, and then it's
Number 3, leave it.
3 and 4 stay the same.
Yeah.
Because those do require more work.
Right.
1 and 2, they don't require as much work. It just requires bringing them three together for a hearing.
doesn't seem to drop way back
No, I
down
think
where it
that's
came from.
fair, yeah. But I do think it's also, at least something I didn't consider, is the fact that we've raised it so high, it sort of disincentivizes people from trying to appeal. And we want them to have that right.
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with that.
But I appreciate what you're saying.
So, Mr. Durbin, to address that, item 3 and 4 are remaining, item 3 is remaining at 800. It was 250 for everything paid prior to November.
Okay.
Okay, and then the home occupation conditional use, zone A is 350. It was 450.
Okay.
And the conditional use home occupation is that situation is setting up workshop, selling supplies, not agricultural. And then based on what you're saying, Mr. Durbin, on commercial industrial, go ahead and have it. I was recommending to drop respectively commercial BZA appeal from 1,000 to 350. Industrial BZA appeal 1,500. So it's very much up to you all, and I appreciate your input.
what is your thought process there the same as for the residential, as far as distance?
For an
How-
appeal.
How many appeals do we get in the commercial industrial?
I think the last, in the major category industrial, I think the last one was, found in industrial property. Outside tailors place out there. Digging through some old notes, that one was, there were complaints that were violations, there were several violations that are, and there was a hearing on that. And it had a lot to do with the marshal and guard, investigating marshal and guard. Ultimately, I think that was, I've found so far it was an industrial. Most of the commercial stuff they've been asking for variance or rezoning. The one that came up most recently, that we did, that was actually a variance. That was for the daycare.
Okay.
Where it was, under our zoning, we could approve the daycare operation perfectly. So we had to get a variance to do it. So in that case, that would have been a commercial appeal. I'm sorry, a commercial variance, and I'm not recommending.
What's the current fee on the commercial variance?
It's $1,000.
So for purposes of commercial and industrial, you're suggesting just the change for the appeal fee, not for the variance or the commission.
And the same reason. Appeals in those zones are gonna come violated. There's like somebody's, there's a complaint, and if I issue a violation and you don't agree with it, that's where our appeal is. Ultimately, whatever the BZA decides about the outcome, a lot of it.
As long as we're covered, 'cause like I said, we're not trying to make money, we're expensive.
So as long as we're covered, we'll agree with that. That's what nobody's cost us, right?
Right. I don't have any objection to it, as long as the
It's,
additional use fee stays.
I agree with this statement. Oh, I'd like to recommend reducing the BZA appeals from $1,500 to $350.
Yes.
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 All right, the next note I had is I do have, a pending, variance case. The application came in right at the end of February. And I had, taken the application fee, but I'm asking that the adjusted fees retroactive to that. So, that application.
And it's a residential BPA? Or-
Yes. I am, on page 3, item 3.
Gotcha. So,
I don't know that, I don't know if it requires any action from or not. Forward to say, like, there was a fee in effect on February 24th, I'm saying. If the justice fee was from.
good one, good one. Okay, yeah, let's just make sure they're covered. Yeah. Like recommended, BZA fees are adjusted as recommended, also recommend making adjusted fees retroactive for BZA variance on case number 1826 SB.
Yes.
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 Right, moving on, agricultural residential, recommending a $50 administrative fee, for limited agricultural structure certification. I've vetted that through, council, for able to still charge the administrator for that. Since we're not authorized to issue zoning certificates. But she did, that was okay, so screwing that up.
I'm fine with that, I think that's a good idea.
I can recommend that agricultural only at $50 administrative fee for exempted agricultural structure certification. Second.
Yes.
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 Same thing, same district area, private solar energy system. Recommend, look, room for a lot of discussion, so.
I
Coming
was
up
gonna
with
say,
the application fee plus $2 per panel, still obviously rounded up.
I would
The
like
nearest
mine
one.
too. That's okay.
I did have one call on that, but prompted me to bring it back again. Figured out.
Okay.
The example project there was a residential, a ground mounted solar array that would consist of 46 panels. It's on a ground mounting system, would measure approximately 82 feet long by 8 feet. Just to give an idea of real design scenario. So that's, when do we want to reconvene on that? Because if they call back, why I need to, or is there something, I need to know what the charge is.
On the 25th, we'll be full.
Yeah.
What if we, so the remaining fees that are sort of on here creep into a lot of solar fees, and I know Shelby was talked about having a conversation about this. We pick a date by which we can discuss.
All the rest of the solar.
I think that would, it's everything except for the commercial industrial, it's everything except for G that's left on your list, right? Is that right, Shelby?
Well, there, the one thing, I was recommending that us the raw application fee and for commercial,
Mm-hmm.
to 150. It's currently industrial. It's I think it's sorry to put that in there. Say to adjust it down just for the application. Underneath.
And the thought on adjusting it down is, what was it before?
It was 250. I'm sorry. Yeah, it was 250.
Was it always 250, or did we raise it?
That's what we set it to on November 26th. We had no. There was no.
There wasn't.
It was just 10 cents per foot.
Let's just do all the solar on the vacant machine.
Yes. This is slightly different. This is a permit application fee under what Shelby was asking. But didn't we choose the 250 because it was in line with other townships? Didn't we raise it for that purpose? I don't recall. I don't have
It was raised there evaluating the application as far as back and forth on documentation.
that
Everything
plan review.
submitted that we need a building plan, like evaluating this, ensuring that the application acts. So, it's just, that's our administrative application. I understand. But it's, that's the same as like, this is submitting the application. Permit fee is based around the application.
Could we perhaps, suggesting, could we table the remaining fee discussion? Could we get together? That would give us 7 days to go through some of these and have any response for you.
I'm with that.
Or-
Because that's what I have, yeah. Keep everything on our Tuesday schedule.
Shelby, is that enough for you?
Yeah.
Trustee, is that okay?
Yes, it is.
How do we do that? That way we can go through the remaining, have something to do.
What time? Because I do have police.
Can we do 7? Can we just do it at 7? Does that allow the BZA enough time?
Yeah.
Okay, at this point, I'd like to recommend tabling, the solar fees. Label DII, E, F, G, and H until March the 18th, 7 p.m. to discuss those fees.
Yes.
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 That's all I had on.
Right, questions on anything? We're gonna move on to new business? Go ahead.
Skim this real quick. The first item, I'd like to move on to the second one real quick. We were just talking about the 18th. On the 18th, BTA is having a discussion at 5:30. Organization meeting for the BTA. They're going to put forth to elect new officers. Set their regular meeting schedule for 5. Establish submittal deadline for hearings on the agenda for those regular scheduled meetings, and to review rules of procedure hearing format. Or follow the same format. Need to bring them up and introduce the new member. That was really information on that. Item 3, we need to try to put out some of the, we really do need to get alternate for zoning rules. If there's any assistance, thoughts or ideas, we can step up for that. We've been a member short of the zoning. All 3 teams. And looking like you mean that. So if we had an alternate, that alternate would already technically sit in. Tiebreaker situation. 5-member board. So we really need to fill those positions. So any feelers or anybody that we can talk to step up to serve on as an alternate person.
That up to the public is, do you have any ideas, anyone who would like to volunteer to be, an alternate for the BZA and the zoning commission, please be prepared.
Thank you. On the first item there, I want to step back to this. Tyler, did you hear anything back about those?
I did not, but I need to reach out to her. She did not send me a draft resolution, so I don't have any tonight, but I will.
That's fine. I thought so since we hadn't back. So, the rest of the items, item 1 for rescue, when we table those for.
That would make sense.
Want to do that? I know it's taking a long time.
And I can probably have, especially on a, so I'll endeavor to make that.
Okay, at this point, I'd like to, table the, new business, the trustee zoning map amendments, 1A and B, till the March 18th, 2025.
So we also wanted to take up for yeah.
And number 4, which is order new zoning notice signs. A and B. 5 is recommendation to reaffirm CCTA and OTA rate membership. Number 6, recommend we purchase on an OTA education subscription. All to be tabled until March the 18th, 2025, at 7 p.m. meeting.
For our notice, we could probably refer to, now it would be for those in this. We do know. Yeah, if that's okay.
That's everything I had on the list, so the rest of the book report is just. There were some attachments on there at the very end. The quote from MyGov. One from Cloud Permit that we talked about before, and then there's a info sheet about I'll bring all that stuff with us.
All right. Yep, at this point, we'd like to open up the public participation on the old business we've been discussing. If anybody would like to come up.
Yeah, turn it off. Got a sweatshirt on and insulated pants all over here. They're ready to go in hibernation. Damn.
Ready?
Yes.
Okay, I promise. I'm tired. I'm as tired as you guys are and hungry.
Your name.
Sandy Howison. I did want to mention that I was surprised that it took so long for you to approve the minutes of the last 2 months worth of meetings. You just approved those today at the beginning, and there hasn't been an approval of the meeting since January 10th. So I wish that you would approve the minutes sooner so that people can actually see them and know what's been going on, see that they're accurate, whatever. That's what you did today, was approve them first thing, right?
For example, we had to table some of them because there's more detail that has to be added to them.
Oh, okay,
So that's
all
why
right,
They
okay.
would have been approved tonight. With the corrections that we made,
They're still not approved?
we have to table it till the 18th.
Okay, all
I
right.
think we technically tabled it.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay, okay. That just seems like a really long time for ones that were early January to
And
be.
the reason, just so, I understand. and I
Okay.
agree, but the reason is there was discussion around whether we would switch our medium to have our official meeting
Right.
minutes be
I,
video.
yes.
And so that was discussed, last month, and there were a number of, I thought, really good points made.
I spoke on that as
You
well,
did, yes.
saying that and the rest of my comments were going to be germane to that, because I still think that they should definitely always be in written form. If that has not been decided yet, I think it should be decided soon that they stay in written form. You can have the videos. The videos are great, but we can go back and read the Constitution because it was written. The Gutenberg Bible was written. The Egyptian hieroglyphs were written, so we can still read them today. But if they're on some kind of an electronic format, we all know how many different formats there have been just in my lifetime, there were, 78s and LPs and,
Tape.
cassettes and 8 tracks and all of those things. And if I had a flash drive, and 500 years from now, nobody's going to be able to read that. But 500 years from now, 500 years ago, we can read documents from thousands of years ago. We need documents on paper that people can read. I cannot tell you how strongly I feel about that. So please, please keep the minutes. You can have them in any other way as well, but keep official minutes on paper that people will be able to read forever.
Instead of tabling them, come together on the 18th.
Anything
Is that
unsolved-
okay?
Anything unsolved now that we can.
That way,
Perfect.
I don't think we have to. I'm sorry? Yeah, that'd be great. That way we can just we can.
Next one up is Mr. Schuler, Greg Schuler.
Good evening. One point, real quick, I want to agree with what the gentleman said about the agenda. Just, I just Googled it. The AI said it's required by law. I didn't find that in the law. The Open Meetings Act requires that they publish an agenda 24 hours before the meeting, made available to the public. I've never seen an agenda published. I've asked for them before. So just as a courtesy to the public, even if it isn't legally required, would be nice. So when you run into a situation like this where people want to see what's going on, the law does say that the trustees are required to have a copy of it 48 hours before the meeting. So, and then the public as soon as possible after that. So I just want to touch on that because I've run into that before. One of the things I wanted to talk about, something not mentioned too often up here, is annexation. It's been controversial in the past. They were talking about annexing the high school property. It was at the end of 2022, which would involve, they wanted the fall under the jurisdiction of the Belleville Police Department, things like that. It would impose the income tax on the teachers there, which was sizable. And so there was some controversy over that. And the public was mostly against it. And some of the teachers were, for obvious reasons. They would be subject to the tax. But it comes up every once in a while. On the property I own, several years before that, the village had talked about forcing people to annex. I live outside the village. But the Ohio Supreme Court made a ruling in 2011, I think, that said that if you got any utilities from the village, they could require you to annex. And it kind of created a stir back then. They dropped it at that time, but that could resurface again. You never know who's at the village now. At this point, it's not an issue, but it could fall in your lap again another time. Recently, the dairy bar down here, I believe wants to annex, is what I've heard. They bought Greg Burns' property, his shop he had there, which was standing in the way. So I think they want to annex that. And my view on that is if somebody finds it to their advantage to annex, that it's their property, and if it's to their advantage, I don't think we should stand in the way of that. The high school's a little different. That's public property, and it involved, who had jurisdiction, the police departments and the taxing district and so forth. So I have the feeling the high school will resurface again. Um, the state legislator is actually looking at it now to give the county more say in that. So it's not law yet, but the development things that are coming along now, I would think that the annexation question may come into play, and it will fall in your guys' lap as well. So I just want to make you aware of some of the controversies around that, and I'm completely against forced annexation. They would have annexed on up Bethel Concord Road and Georgia Drive and that whole area, all the subdivisions there, all get their water from the village. And it was the only water out here when those places were built. But Tate Township, Tate Monroe has water out here now, so there is an alternate supply if that ever became an issue. But I don't think people should be forced to annex. If it's their choice, if it's to their advantage, then I'm all for that. Thank you.
The next one is John Allison.